In today's video, I'll talk about how a myth evolved over time to become one of the most popular things in modern times: ninjas. Ninja. What is a ninja? Ask anyone on the street, and they'll probably say that ninjas are spies or assassins from Japan. Shadowy figures in black outfits, covering their faces, jumping from rooftops, scaling castles, and killing unsuspecting lords. Despite the great popular interest in ninjas, the real history is often obscured by myths and romanticized legends. This raises the question, what about ninjas is true and what is not? Most of the writing and knowledge we have today about ninjas comes from the Edo period, after the end of the Sengoku Jidai. Essentially, the information available about ninjas comes from a time when Japan was at war. Most sources are from samurais who were alive during the Sengoku period, so we can view these writings with some truth. The word ninja itself only began to be used around the mid-20th century, and the reason for this is that the kanji for ninja can be read in two different ways. Most kanji have multiple readings. In the case of ninja, it can be read as ninja or shinobi no mano. In 100% of all phonetic markers found in ancient scrolls, all say shinobi no mano and not ninja. Other similar terms include shinobi no ho, which means path of the shinobi, shinobi no jutsu, which means shinobi skills, shinobi no maki, which means shinobi scrolls, shinobi gaishi, which means thorny defenses, and shinobi guchi, which means hidden entrance. Therefore, it is quite safe to conclude that in feudal Japan, ninjas were actually called shinobi. Espionage existed in feudal Japan since wars were fought. Many of the early espionage tactics in Japan come from Chinese tactics, and that's because before the samurai took control, Japan was based on the Chinese governance system, which included the military. This means that long ago in Japan, Chinese military strategies were used to help in many aspects of warfare. But of all of them, what had the greatest impact on the shinobi was Sun Tzu's The Art of War, and its 13th chapter on the use of spies. Espionage, reconnaissance, agent infiltration, sowing confusion or disinformation are strategies seen around the world by anyone who has waged war. There are shared similarities in all espionage systems, even from cultures that never interacted. The problem is knowing exactly when espionage in Japanese warfare became actions of shinobi. Any spy or espionage agent in Japan could be considered a shinobi. Shinobi were members of the samurai or ashigaru. Just as samurai led groups of ashigaru on the battlefield, a samurai taking on the responsibilities of a shinobi would lead a group of ashigaru shinobi. A shinobi captain led other samurai in night attacks because they had already explored the path. This dispels the myth that shinobi or ninjas were a completely separate entity from the samurai. In reality, shinobi or ninjas were samurai or ashigaru. They are practically the same thing. The roles of a shinobi ranged from espionage, reconnaissance, infiltration, into enemy clans, gathering information, spreading false information, sowing chaos, and completely sabotaging structures or battle plans. They formed networks of spies, discovered the size of enemy forces, investigated the enemy's economic power, and fed all this information back to a central command, probably to their lord or superior commanders. Documents say that if a shinobi found themselves in a good position to kill an important enemy, they should do it. But there is no solid evidence to say who was killed by a shinobi. During the Sengoku period, there were two main centers for shinobi training, Iga and Koka. These locations were under the control of samurai clans and samurai families that formed a collective to repel invaders. The idea of a ninja clan is false. What existed were samurai clans that were specialists in the arts of shinobi. not ninja clans fighting against the samurai. For example, members of the Hattori family were known as shinobi, who operated in Iga, but Iga was not governed by a single authority. For much of the Sengoku period, Iga was under the control of the Hokaku clan, which certainly was not a fictional ninja clan. In a document written by a Sengoku period warrior, it is said that for generations, people from Iga and Koka were hired throughout the country, acting as shinobi for many different daimyo. The samurai from Iga and Koka were hired in Japan as samurai, who would serve as special forces or secret agents, and had a network covering the entire country. However, Iga and Koka probably did not become important centers for shinobi practice until after the Hokaku clan was destroyed by Oda Nobunaga. This suggests that shinobi were used more in the latter half of the Sengoku Jidai, rather than being a constant presence throughout the period. Before the year 1400, there was no connection between shinobi and Iga and Koka. Hattori Hanzo is an example of a real historical shinobi, though he was more likely a samurai or unit leader of other shinobi serving under Tokugawa Ieyasu. The name Hattori Hanzo has been passed down through generations, so we know that the Hanzo nicknamed Oni Hanzo served Ieyasu and was probably a warrior from Iga who served in Mikawa. However, there are not many details about him. Fuma Kotaro, sometimes called Kazama, served the Oho clan in Kanto and was a notorious shinobi who found his way into the service of the samurai, employing his particular skills for the benefit of the Oho clan. This shows how shinobi could be used throughout the country, but they were not all from Iga or Koka. Thieves or other individuals with specific skills could serve a clan in espionage roles and could be considered shinobi, allowing them to rise to the rank of samurai or ashigaru. The 10 Braves of Sanada are a group of shinobi who supposedly helped Sanada and Yukimura during the defense of Osaka Castle. However, this story appears to be entirely invented. Most of the information about them is fictional. The most reliable sources about shinobi were written in the early decades of the Edo period. These sources came from samurai who lived and fought during the Sengoku period. These documents show that shinobi or ninjas were more like spies. During the Edo period, the role of shinobi gradually disappeared due to the peace in Japan. Without wars, there was no need for scouts, spies, or infiltrators. The only real job for shinobi during the Edo period was as night watchmen. However, there were not enough positions for everyone in this role. As a result, over time, their numbers dwindled dramatically and funds ran out. This forced the former warriors to abandon their activities and turn to general farming. During the mid-Edo period, the image of shinobi began to transform into the popular figure of ninjas that we know today. Images of a masked thief and a connection to the shuriken started to appear. The shinobi was seen as a thief in a peaceful city, not as a military agent. The low-class figure dressed in black of the ninja began to take shape. In the first half of the 20th century, the word ninja began to gain popularity, especially with the release of the James Bond film You Only Live Twice in 1967, which portrayed ninjas in a stereotypical manner. After that, the word ninja exploded worldwide and entered the English language. With the new surge of interest in the idea of ninjas in the West, Japan reimagined them, creating a figure that never existed in history. Edo period novels gave birth to a figure that captured the hearts of people in Japan and abroad. To this day, around the world, the ninja has become an icon of Japan, and the Japanese are not ready to abandon this for historical truth, as it is a major tourist attraction. Video games and films have created a romanticized representation of Japan's shadowy warriors. The idea of the stereotypical ninja has been promoted by people who wanted to advocate for a ninja-centric fighting style, essentially ninja techniques, as a form of martial art. However, there is no connection between ninjutsu as a fighting style and the role of ninjas in feudal Japan. The idea of a specialized form of hand-to-hand combat known only to ninjas is a modern invention. This idea has caused debates, controversies, and even wars on the internet. Many people have trusted and invested their money in hopes of learning these ancient ninja ways. But the historical truth about the shinobi is starting to take shape. Since 2013, serious academic research on the subject has begun. Today, ninjas are one of Japan's greatest symbols, seen everywhere from games, comics, and anime. It is important to recognize that the common image of a ninja is not that of a real ninja. Although many people might say that ninjas never existed, shinobi did. It's just our idea about them that has been misled for most of our lives. And that was our video for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video.